what is happening from our Nigerian newspaper. A lot has happened in the week. We have that on the leak video of the Labour Party presidential candidate, and also with the founder of Living Faith, and a lot of stories have been happening, as you know, about 8 governors to be stepping down together with the president. So a lot has been going on as he needs to clear up and also put whatever they need to put a hand over.
One of Echo Television's purpose of being alive is to fulfill the Echo executives.
Thank you. I was just saying.
Thank you so much. How was the weekend?
It was fine.
You got to rest, right?
A little bit, but I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. We're live on Facebook and also on YouTube. So please do well to drop your comment or your contribution on any story that is of interest to you. And you can also call us on the show later on the show when we will open the phone lines. And let us run through the paper. Rachel started with the matrix.
On the Matrix newspaper, security vote management, governors to meet EFCC, CBN, others tomorrow. Inamani reveals how Peter Obi introduced religious ethnic politics in Nigeria. You can find the details on page 5. We have Chelsea fire Graham Potter as head coach. Roger leaves Leicester. You can find the details on page 15. Alleged Peter Obi, David Oyedepo leaked audio tapes tear reactions. The big story on the Matrix newspaper, controversy rocks yet to be composed 10th National Assembly leadership. The writer flowing that how politicians have commenced buying of National Assembly leadership reveals why Senate presidency should be open, not zoned. Stakeholders call for national balancing. OPEC Plus moves to shore up oil prices, cuts output by 1.15 million barrels per day from May. FCTA repatriates 217 destitute street beggars to Katsina, Kano, and others. Professor Soyunka blows hot, says Nigerians will not cease demanding restructuring. You can find the details inside the paper. At the downside of the paper, we have bandits storm Zamfara University hostel, kidnap female students, and we hope that Zamfara government do something about that. There's a picture story where we can see meeting between secretaries and the NGX, and that's all the news on the Matrix newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, why PDP's NEC Board of Trustee governors can't save IU. You can find that story on page 2. Investors make 1.6 trillion naira gain in the first quarter. Consumer goods firms lead. You can read all of that too on page 15. 25-year-old South African wins BB Titan with $100,000. For those who have been following that story, you can read more of that on page 2. Pope Francis urges all to unite and pray for SAR coaches. And then we have Buhari, Tinubu, Hill, and Tony Joshua. You can read that story on page 31. Both. And we have governors NFIU on collusion caught over cash withdrawal. With the rider, you can't spend cash, agency tells healthmen of state. And we have a caption that says, must they spend security vote in cash? If it is payment they want to make, they can do it through transfer. It doesn't have to be in cash. So you can read more of that story on the front page and also on page 4. China loan to African transparent. And we have Trump files to NY for arrangement. You can find more of that story too. And we have federal government borrowed 3.17 trillion naira in 3 months. How proceeds from petrol subsidy removal should be used. With the rider man LCCI list options. You can find that also on page 4. Cholera affected 922, killed 32 in 9 weeks, says NCDC. And we hope the governors of those states will take this very seriously as the rains is by the corner. Of course, we tend to see, cholera outbreaks. So we hope that the NCDC and governors and the Ministry of Health will do something about that. You can read more of that story on page 2, and that's all on the Nation newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, Governor CBN EFCC was involved in 2023 general election coming from Bauer, and you can find the details on page 25. The big story on Nigerian Tribune, leaked phone talk between Obi Oyedepo causes furor. The writer says it is mischief subterfuge, a deep fake, Obi-Dati campaign cancel. I have never campaigned for anybody or spoken on anybody's behalf. A statement coming from Oyedepo. Obi's desire to be president has died a natural death, coming from Keyamo. Unauthorized wiretapping of private telephone conversation worrisome. This is coming from Ogundamisi. You can find the details on page 2. Nigerians will not cease demanding restructuring, a statement coming from Shoinka. Obedient passengers to appear before Abuja Airport Magistrate today. NDLEA declares prophetess celebrity couple wanted over seized illicit drugs. The details can be found on page 25 of Nigerian Tribune. Rivers police explain detention of election materials after release of lawyers. Arrest of lawyers and aberration prove Nigeria is dysfunctional, coming from lawyers, and the details can be found on page 24. And that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
On the Guardian newspaper with the big story, religious war, Obi's leak phone call with Oyedepo raises dust with the rider, leak audio on Obi, Oyedepo, their fake, says the Labour Party campaign. And then Okonkwo is saying audio taken out of context. Obi spokesman blame NCC for leak call. I have never campaigned for any politician, says Oyedepo. And then we have Inamani saying Obi introduced religious and ethnic politics. And let's just read a little here. They say 5 weeks after the February 25th presidential election, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, at the weekend, got enmeshed in a controversy when a phone conversation between him and the founder and presiding bishop of the Living Faith Church nationwide, aka Winners Chapel, David Oyedepo, leaked on social media. Obi came under fire for declaring the 2023 presidential election a religious war. As in the now viral leak audio published by an online medium, People's Gazette, on Saturday, Obi was heard begging Oyedepo for support. Obi asked the cleric to help spread the message to his followers in the southwest and the north central state. You can continue to read more of that story on the front page of the paper and also on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. 28 women die daily of cervical cancer in Nigeria. That's why it's important that you do go for checkups. How underfunding abuse mere master plan in universities and polytechnics. You can read that story on page 27. And we have ICC celebrate Palm Sunday Mass after hospital stay, defend the abandoned. And you can see the picture story with the Pope. And you can read more of that story on page 6 of the Guardian, and that's all on the Guardian newspaper.
On Leadership newspaper, bandits attack Niger communities, kill 13, abduct cause. Innovators sue INEC for 77 billion naira over e-voting copyright theft. We have a briefing fact-checked how many SANs did we use in interim government fake audio to frame me up, a statement coming from Obi. God has just exposed you, your ambition dead on arrival, a statement from Keyamo. I never campaigned for any politician, coming from Bishop David Oyedepo, and you can find the details on page 4. Police obey court judgment, release 67 vehicles to shared members. Agora policy to federal government, fortify anti-corruption measures. And we have an entertainment news where South Africa's Kosi wins Big Brother Titans. The details can be found on page 6, and that's all the news on leadership.
On the Punch newspaper, the big story, end of tenure, Buhari, Uzibanjo, 28 governors and ministers to begin asset declaration. With the rider, outgoing public office holders must declare asset by May 29, coming from the CCB official. President-elect Tinubu Shetima, 28 incoming governors get CCB for this month. And let me read a little under that. The President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and the 44 ministers in the Federal Executive Council will soon start declaring their asset ahead of the May 29 when their tenure will end. The special advisor to the CCB chairman on general duties, Dr. Mustafa Musa, confirmed to the Punch on Sunday that the necessary arrangement had been made for the issuance of the asset forms to the outgoing officials and their successors. Also, the outgoing presidential 828 state governors and their cabinet members in National Assembly and the state assembly members and local government chairmen will equally obtain the asset declaration form. This complies with the provision of the code on the assumption of office and at the end of their term of office. However, the President-elect Bola Tinubu, the Vice President-elect Shaitima, we have 28 incoming governors and their cabinet members, as well as the state assembly members, have 3 months to submit their asset form to the CCB. And we can read more of that story on the front page of the Punch, and also you can read that on page Palm Sunday. We can see picture stories of Ibadan, Abuja, and Lagos, where everybody expresses and celebrates the Palm Sunday. Other stories still on the Punch: Chinese loan rise by 209% under Buhari. NGX suspends Stereo Bank share trading. Federal government to demolish Lagos Airport jet hangars April 15. And we have 22-year-old Ogun lady found dead in Watson Lagos Ibadan Expressway, Greek Lock. You can find that also on page 4, and that's all of the Punch newspaper.
On the Voice of Liberty newspaper, Alkali resigns as NNPP national chairman. INEC hires ex-NBA president, 8 other sons to defend election. We have Abba Gida starting on wrong note coming from Ganduje, and this is concerning Kano. Presidential inauguration, stop Tinubu, prepare for Third World War. This is coming from Jimo Ibrahim, renowned academic, and Jimo Ibrahim has warned any group or elements planning to stop the forthcoming swearing in of Nigeria's president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to jettison their plans or prepare for a Third World War. Still on the Voice of Liberty, unlawful air can't take off without National Assembly approval coming from the Senate. And in Zamfara, bandits storm Federal University, abduct female students. At the downside of the paper, leaked phone call, Obi's dream of becoming president has died naturally, coming from Keamu. And that's all the news on Voice of Liberty.
On Daily Independent newspaper, bandit invade varsity, female hosted in Kusur, abduct students. You can start on the front page and read more inside. Alkali NNPP national chairman step aside, seek restructuring of party. The big story for Daily Independent say banking fears heighten as customers shun cash deposit. We saw that from last week, and it's still worrisome till today. We hope something will be done about that. And still on the issue of the leak audio on Obi Oyedebo fake coming from the Labour Party. You can read that story on page 29. Serap asked Buhari to obey court and end persecution for cyber stalking. FCTA returned 217 destitute beggars to Castina, Kanu, and others. Benue APC PDP trade wars over autumn administration with the rider, "There can't be 2 governors in Benue at a time." This is coming from the PDP. And we have on Lagos Airport, Serika vows to demolish more structures for international terminal building. Commission 12 billion naira worth of fire tenders. Downside of the paper, at UN, UNESCO's Nigeria renew call for fair international tax practices. You can find us on page 7. We still have Christians celebrating the Palm Sunday as a picture story here, and that's all on Daily Independent.
On New Telegraph, Nigeria's domestic debt stock rises by 151.3% to 22.2 trillion naira under Buhari. Uncertainty over Nigeria as OPEC Plus makes 1 million barrel production cut, and you can find the details on page 2. On Senate presidency, Mark Saraki era stir up fresh challenge for APC. Benue APC tackles autumn over cargo airport projects and appointment. Coming from lawyers, fiscal autonomy for state judiciary will aid quick justice delivery. We have the big story, alleged non-recognition E-voting innovators slammed 77.5 billion naira suit on INEC and federal government, accused commission of suppressing information on e-voting proposal. You can find the details on page 3. We have Palm Sunday tragedy. Gunmen attack worshippers, kill one, and abduct residents, pastor, 4 others in Benue. The details can be found on page 5 and 7. Lagos Rail Project, Bishop Oyedebo's hangar, others for demolition. The details can be found on page 2 and 7. AMCON appeals judgment says court affirms receive ship over Eric Air. Oba Awori suspends Onoji over alleged planned revolt. Cashless policy, governors meet with CBN, EFCC, others over security votes management, and that meeting will be on Tuesday, and you can find the details on page 2. At the downside of the paper, we have a study that links higher magnesium intake to lower dementia risks, and that details can be found on page 27. We have a picture story. Do well to get the New Telegraph for the details, and that's all the news on New Telegraph newspaper.
On the Daily Times newspaper, APM asks Tribunal to notify Tinubu's victory for foul nomination of Sheitima. You can start reading that story on the front page and more on page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. And we have the big story that is captioned as security vote. 36 state governors to meet CBN and EFCC. I think this is still in relation to declaring their asset. You can read that on the front page and more on page 2. Labour Party to APC, endless subterfuge must stop. And we have federal government to demolish Bishop Oyedebo's hangar at Lagos Airport. Federal government commences entrepreneurship program for public works. You can read that story on page 18. Nigerians FDI declining steadily over the last 5 years. This is coming from experts. If you want to know why that has been happening, you have to read more of that story on page 18. We have a picture story where we can see the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, commemorating the newly built Department of Land War at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Kaduna State yesterday, during the weekend, and that's all on the Daily Times newspaper.
On the Daily Sun newspaper, Ohaneze, NBF, AYCF warns on interim government, says claims suspicious, urge security agencies to be open on matter. The big story on Daily Sun, governors, EFCC, CBN to meet over security votes. And on Senate President, APC group says Kalu most qualified, opposition against zoning, speakership to Northwest grows. And the details can be found on page 26 and 27. FCTA repatriates 217 destitute beggars to Katsina, Kano, Abia, Imo, Delta, and others. Udi Azegu leaders, friends celebrate Ugwanyi for peace, security, unity, and progress. Buhari hails Anthony Joshua's victory over Jermaine Franklin. How to win war against corruption. This is coming from a policy group, and you can find the details on page 26. Efforts to discredit Obi will fail woefully. Campaign organization tells APC dismisses Oyedepo Obi's fake audio conversation as product of APC's forgeries. The details can be found on page 27. We have the story at the downside that says IPOP flames killing of members in Abia, and the details can be found on page 26. And we'll be looking at the sport from Sporting Sun. Mofi Chukwueze, most expensive Nigeria, under 20 stars. Benzema's caught 7-minute hat-trick in Real Madrid win. Leicester sacks Rodgers. The details can be found on page 2. Top 10 most expensive players in the world. Osimhen shoots in to joint 8th position, and the details can be found on page 6. Liverpool breaks unwanted 12-year record in Man City defeat. The details can be found on page 5. AFCON 2015 bid, CAF team inspects Nigeria stadium facilities. Chelsea fires Graham Potter. The details can be found on page 2. Barca puts 90 million euros price tag on Ansu Fati. Al-Hala offered to make Messi highest paid footballer in the world. Joshua calls out Tyson Fury after victory. You can find the details in page 7. Super Eagles stars hail feat again coming from Owoyi. Man City reaches 1,000 goals under Guardiola, and that's all the news on Sporting Sun.
All right, let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper. APC propaganda can't stop pursuit of our mandate, coming from Peter Ubi. And we have on Financial Vanguard, where we have foreign portfolio investment dropped to 49% in 2 months of 2023, with a rider domestic institutional investors fill the gap. Expert worry, tax president-elect, and leads forex policy, political uncertainty, and others as key concern. You have to read more of that story on page 20. The big story: governors meet with EFCC, ICPC, FRS, CBN on security votes, with a rider meeting at instance of the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU. Misconception over security vote will be clear, coming from Autumn. Osun and Benue governors welcome meeting. Read more of that story on page 5. The 10th National Assembly leadership power blocks strategize await Tinubu's return. Alkali resigned as NNPP national chairman. With more of that story on page 9. Bandit killed 12, adopt 26 in Niger and Castina. Constitution amendment: Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Rivers orders $10 billion power sector investment. This is an investigation that can be found on page 8. Why I can't join the military, coming from Adeboye. You can read more of that story on page 36. And coming from Oyebdebo, he said, leak audio, I never campaigned for any politician. Read more of that story on page 14. We still have Buhari commend AJ for his courage and discipline. That's from the sport. More of that story can be found on page 31. And the picture story is Pope Francis at the Palm Sunday Mass in St. Peter's Square, Vatican, yesterday during the Palm Sunday, celebrating with the people. And that's all on the Vanguard newspaper.
On Nigerian News Direct, tension as federal government concludes 6.7 trillion naira fuel subsidy removal scanning. Wabote Jonathan Lumumba win African Heritage Award. The big story on Nigerian News Direct: APC begins investigation of Aribisola Amosun, others for anti-party activities. The details can be found on page 21, and that's all the news on Nigerian News Direct.
All right, before we move further with the newspaper review, we'd like to take a time out so we can, open the phone lines for our callers so that you can be actively involved. A lot have been going on the paper. We can see they will meet with the CBN concerning the story, the way forward to some of the issues. We have about 1.6 million barrels. Expert urges next government to emplace independent, powerful regulator for oil and gas industry. Says regulator in mode of CBN NCC needed to strengthen oil sector activity for increased forex earnings. You can read more of that story on the front page and page 5. Buhari Abiola at APC lawyers filing petition in Rivers, Cole alleges. You can find more of that story on page 43. Coming from Falana, president can't withhold asset to constitution, so that we get to know who are you having an accounting at? Will I say administration will be able to, withhold this, be able to follow up this constitution and actually see, whoever is a public office holder should declare their asset before they get into office and after they're leaving the office. So I hope that this will be a pattern that will not just be observed once in a while, but we see it every now and then, a way of accountability.
Yeah, this is one of those things that should be strict and be adhered to, like, in full. It's not something optional. It's not something that these what will I call it? These people that have been voted into power will have an option of whether to do it or not, but it should be something that has been passed into a law that is part of the process. The same way it is expected that you go and collect your certificate of return, it's the same way it is expected of you to declare your assets. Let it be a process that is not optional, but mandatory, something that needs to be done before you enter the office and then after you go, not something that is being left for who to decide whether they are, how will I call it, they are disciplined enough or whether they are transparent enough to do it. It's not about that, but something mandatory for everybody. And I'm looking forward to where when we truly will take accountability seriously and transparency in this country, that we will not just be lenient on certain people or lenient and leave some people out, but when something is being done, it is done for everybody and not just for some people in specific. That is up from the federal government, the executive, to the state level, and even to the local government level. Let's not just say, okay, the local government chairman is not seeing enough money like the rest, so he doesn't have to declare any. No, we have corruption even at the smallest level in Nigeria as far as we are concerned. So if we truly want to be accountable, then it should be at all levels and we should take it seriously. It shouldn't be something optional, but mandatory.
Of course, Rachel. Let's stay on this day newspaper. Let's look at other stories. With a big story here that says Tinubu begins team building, considered by Jabia Mila chief of staff. With the rider,
we have a caller.
Hello, good morning.
I think we lost that call.
All right, we hope you call us back again before the end of the program. Still on the big story, Tinubu begins team building, considers Bajabia Amida chief of staff, with the rider Wale Edno Bagudu also in high consideration for key roles. We have Shoyinka advises president-elect to either restructure Nigeria or fail. Insists nation would cease demanding change. We have another call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right. I think we lost that call and we could barely hear her, so we hope she called.
Very low, so we hope that it calls us back again. Still on this day newspaper, we have other story that say new breakthrough drugs Justin emerges for cancer treatment. This is really a very big good news. We hope that that will help and more will be discovered. You can read more of that on page 42. And we have a picture story where we have another call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, we can hear you.
Hello, good morning. Rachel, morning. I want to say that which is the way forward for we Nigerians? Every day you wake up in Nigeria, instead of hearing good news that the federal government is creating job opportunity for the teeming youth and graduates, what our elders and our stakeholders and elder statesmen turn out to do mostly is look at us and use us for some kind of a caricature. Where on earth will you compare religion and politics? These are two different dimensions. And the way it's going now, I think there's a hit somewhere. It's only God that will help us. Why will somebody say there's a link between Bishop David Oyedepo and Peter Obi concerning an election that has come and gone? APC should learn to be focused and work out modalities if really they won the election to defend their mandate in court and leave other issues that are inconsequential in the issue of administration. And secondly, we talked about killing. There are brutal killings in Benue, as the case may be. On Palm Sunday, I was aware of the killing that took place yesterday. It's not only bringing in uniform men to stand on the road and be extracting money from people that is the problem. As I speak with you, the indigenes of Nasarawa are not comfortable. The people in Agatu axis of Benue State are not comfortable. We go to Guma. the people of Bajimba and Balon there are not also comfortable. Killing here and there. But instead of the government focusing on the crux of the matter, they use it to play politics with us. Please, this is a medium that everybody air out his view. And we hope that you people analyzing this issue, government should also give you a listening ear, because you are like the common man, the ordinary man's source to link to the government. So please, I crave your indulgence not to relent in any capacity. Keep crying, but one day Nigerians will answer us and God will help us. Long live Equa Television, long live my presenters, and long live Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that contribution. And I think the last story on this day is a picture story where we can see courtesy visit to the Ulu of Warri. And you can read more of that story inside the paper, and that's all on this day newspaper.
On First News newspaper, governors meet EFCC CBN tomorrow over security vote. NNPP chairman at Kali resigns. Kano, we have a caller.
Hello, good morning. Where are you calling from?
My name is Amut, calling from Malali, Kaduna. We talk about judiciary with the case of a political party. My main concern is that Ladipo is not an ordinary somebody that can link him with Peter Obi. If they talk about that, here they know they are preaching they should not vote for a Christian, they should vote for a Muslim. That is why you see the candidate of APC, if you go to Red, you will see Abadio Anila is a Muslim. The second person is a Muslim. What do we say? The Christians didn't say anything. Secondly, if they talk about judiciary, who lectured them is a professor. Who manipulated the results is a professor. They want to go to court. Who teach the court how to get bribes, how to manipulate cases and give it to those that are not supposed to be given. Who teach them? The professor. That is why in this country, bribery and corruption has come to stay in this regime. You see a criminal who stole money, they was not saving anything. 2 years back, they said snake swallow money. Monkey go carry money for office. Even Iraq grabbed president from the office. How come people are we in this country? My problem is I lost confidence in those people that are heading us. No single day you will not hear they kill this, they stole this, they arrest this. Nothing has ever come to court to hear what they are saying. To the local government, something have been not. They go there, they break the prison, they send those criminals away. And the government are fully aware. Who is deceiving who? Are we fools or the judiciary or the government? This is why they put me into confusion. I can never respect the judiciary. And all these professors, I'm still repeating, I will never cross 80% of them, only 20% I believe with them. You see an old man of 70 years carrying his granddaughter to bed.
All right, thank you so much for that call.
That is criminality. What are they doing? Oh, you sitting there, please. I'm not happy. Every day. What are we doing? What the judiciary doing? What the government are doing? Corruption. Somebody pass money, almost billions, and that person is moving on the street. This one killed this one. The following day, see him running on the street. They cut one lady in Malali here. That is Badarawa with money he can drink. And you are telling me AFC today? You say that the AFC should all the governors and let them know where the security votes are there. Are they? How can a criminal arrest a criminal? How can a criminal arrest a criminal? And if a criminal arrests a criminal, they will take the criminal to a criminal court. They share the money. So no judiciary in this country. I don't believe in anything judiciary. Politics. They are criminal. Most of them are criminal. Can't choose yes to be no and
Right,
no
thank
to
you
yes.
so much. Thank you. Right, to all our callers, please do remember to just make it 30 seconds as other callers will be, waiting up on the line. Thank you so much. Let's go and reach out, please.
Still on First News newspaper, Kano governor-elect starting on a wrong note, says Ganduje. And we have the big story on the First News. Backlash over Obi Oyedepo leaked yes daddy audio. The writer following that Oyedepo breaks silence on leaked audio, says I've never campaigned for anybody. What Obi Oyedepo said in leaked, we have a
Hello,
caller.
good morning.
Hello?
We are with you. Good morning. Where are you calling from, please?
Yeah, I'm James calling from Taraba.
All right, go on, please.
Yeah, I'm James calling from Taraba.
We can hear you, James. Go on.
My comment is, one of my brothers is saying, this our country killing everywhere, all over. My sister, I have no more to say because this our governor or president in Nigeria. During good Lord Jonathan, we had Boko Haram all over. The same killing. Now, Buhari, kidnapping, banditry, killing all over. How I wish this Tinubu in regime, may you all come be peace. May you all wear our tears. May you all bring joy in our country. That's my own.
Right, thank you very much. Still on the First News newspaper, following the writer under the big story, leaked audio is deep fake head Labour Party campaign. We know those who leaked the conversation with Oyedepo coming from Obi's aide. Keyamo blast Oyedepo declares Peter Obi's presidential ambition dead. Inamani lambasts Obi for weaponizing religion and ethnicity. INEC appends 9 SANs to defend elections conduct. Troops kill 11 bandits in Kaduna, recover weapons. Drug trafficking, NDLEA declares prophetess celebrity couple wanted for recruiting teenage girls. And that's all the news on First News newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the world of business from national economy, where we have currency buying setting inflation rate 2022, 2021, and commodity prices. So you can read more of that from the table up. And we have the caption here that says, after 43 years, will next administration complete the 4 trillion naira Ajaokuta steel complex? This is the question. And I just hope that the next administration will not just take this lightly. Rachel, we've seen millions and billions being injected into Ajaokuta steel.
Yeah.
This is just one out of many refineries, industries that have been left lying down. We've seen workers have lost their job as a result of things not going on in all of these steel that is happening. And here's the question that's in after 43 years.
Yeah.
You begin to ask, what have we been doing? We've seen international nation even giving us money so this place can start working. But till date, we have seen that nothing is happening there. And so this is the question that we don't need the next administration to be too quick or too fast to give us an answer. But we need them to go back and sit down really and give us appropriate answer, because as it is right now, Nigerians are no longer sleeping. For every word you have stated in your manifesto, you will be held accountable for it. Back where those days when Nigerians said, okay, maybe after the first 4 years, if you did not do well, maybe let us give it the second time. But right now, it's no longer, well, let us try anymore. Once you are not doing well for the first 4 years, in fact, I have stated what they'll do in 100 days, what they can do in 1 year, 2 years. So let us see they are making attempts. So these are part of the questions that Nigeria are asking. We've seen textile industry coming out to even, come out to protest. More should be done about that. And this is just one out of the many other things. We have seen that we've collected almost 3 point something just in 3 months. It's a loan. So I just hope that with all of this money, if we say that we are injecting it into project, let Nigerians see it visibly that something is being done. Let it not just be stories and on our people's
headline. The emotion I felt was not a happy emotion, whatever it is, though I don't have to be direct about how I felt about this. But then on the previous papers, which we didn't want to go into it, concerning our debt profile, how much we've been borrowing, and we saw that in the past, in this present administration, it has gone above 209%, and we are seeing that we are going in just a year of there about 22 trillion within this administration, and the total of it so far has been 46 trillion naira, 46.2 trillion naira. That is our total debt profile. And I'm looking at how much is needed for the Ajakuta Steel Complex to be completed, and it's 14 trillion. And the question is, what have we been borrowing these huge sums of money and doing with? What have we been? You're looking at our debt profile. It is a lot of money, and it can cover these expenses. It can take this steel mill to the next level. What have our government been doing with the money we have been borrowing and lending? And when we saw that China rejected our request, we are boldly saying it on the paper that we're going for loan hunting, meaning if China won't give us, we are going to find other countries, other economy that will give us money. And this is not a pleasant thing to see, because we're looking at projects that we've been collecting so much money and we are not finishing this project, but rather we keep abandoning them. And we wonder, these are projects that would boost our economy. If our steel mills are working, it means that we can make our cars in Nigeria. Maybe our engineering is not up to the fact that we can make engines. Fine, we can import our engines, but what about the bodies of our cars? We can do it in Nigeria. Many other machines, we don't need to import everything from other countries. We can have the bodies here in Nigeria and probably just import the other things that our technology haven't reached to that level yet, and that will go a lot of way from saving us money and also making it possible for us to export to other countries. These are industries that shouldn't be neglected, but for some reason we keep borrowing money, and then we are neglecting these places. That looking at the money in our debt profile, whatever we've been borrowing could have been enough for us to see that these projects are not abundant. It just shows that we're not using our money the right way, Sele. And I'm looking forward to a government and an administration that will spend Nigerian money rightly, whether the one that we generate internally or the one that we keep borrowing. And this didn't just start with this administration. We've had a habit or the attitude of borrowing for over many years, and then the Ajaku times we are seeing 43 years after, meaning we can link this back to 3 administrations even before now, because it has been abandoned for this long. So we just hope, Sele, we know that Nigeria can do better, but we need the right government to take us to where we are supposed to go to. And I hope that the coming administration will be that government that does something tangible for Nigeria, because this administration is done and gone. Come May, there will be a handing over and a new person will be in office. So we're looking forward now to the next administration and what they will do for Nigeria to make sure that these sectors of our economy that have the capacity to make us wealthy are not being neglected.
Of course, Richard. Let's look at other stories still on national economy. Why innovation hub fails and how to keep it from falling and from fading. Why innovation hub fails and how to keep it from fading. You can find that story on page 10. $35 trillion global energy transition investment, Nigeria's funding gap. Also, you can find that on page 19. And downside, we have rising interest rate amidst unburdened inflation. You can find that story on page 15. And that's all the national economy.
On Business Day newspaper, the big story: losers trump gainers in Nigeria's Naira redesign. Fintechs gain as CBN bank customers lose. Nigerian stocks break 4-month rally after election. Lagos, 4 others owe 34% of state, 5.34 trillion domestic debt. Leadway becomes first insurer to cross 100 billion naira premium income. BUA Foods annual profit rises 31% to 91 billion naira. You can find the details inside the paper on page 26, and that's all the news on Business Day.
All right, thank you so much, Rachel,
You're
for
welcome,
doing this with
Sally.
me. Thank you to our callers. Thank you to our crew members. Thank you to our followers and also our viewers, everybody. Thank you to General Manager, the Eco Executive, and everybody that have made this program a success. Until we come your way again, do have a blessed day ahead.